So joining us on the show is a Nigerian journalist, Ayodeji Bakare. He'll be sharing his views of how the Naira can be revived and the restoration of our economy to vibrancy level, how the federal government of Nigeria can end the untold economic hardship bedeviling the country. You remember him from the video that trended a few months back when the president was in New York for the the assembly, the General Assembly, where he was asking the president to commodify the Naira, and that video trended. We brought him on a few days after to share his thoughts. But as the Naira and issues of the floating of the Naira, the subsidy removal has beaten harder to Nigerians, we thought to call him back again to share his own views on what he thinks the federal government can begin to do. Also on the back of the fact that the president recently put together a committee to advise the economy. So we have Tony Lumelu, we have Dangote, we have Rewane, we have quite a number of other top economic experts to support Cardoso and others and see what they can do, the Minister of Finance, Wale Edu and others, to see what they can do to stimulate the economy. So joining us right now is Ayodeji. Welcome, Ayodeji. Are you there?
Yes, good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Morayo. Good morning, everyone.
Good to have you. So, as I was saying earlier, the president has put together an advisory committee because obviously they need help, they need support. Everything they have ingested and put to support the Naira for whatever reason is not working. They've put in billions of dollars since December to help support the Naira. It's still not working. Let's start with your own thoughts on what can we do. Hopefully one of the members of the committee is listening to us this morning, can get a few ideas from you on what we can do to stabilize the Naira. Let's start from there.
Okay, good morning, everyone, once again. Good morning, Nigeria. And I would like to sympathize and empathize with Nigerians as regards all of the economic hardships going on. And I'm actually not a journalist, but an engineer.
Okay.
So I just want to just put that out there, but that's okay. Firstly, I saw what the president did yesterday as regards getting an economic advisory team and brought all of the game players in there and the game changers in there. That's a very, very good start. Okay. Now, our economy. What is our economy basically? We talk about consumption, we talk about production, we talk about transportation of all goods and services. Mm-hmm. Now we have to look at what fighting us harder or hardest. And I am going to go directly to food because we are having serious food inflation. Mm-hmm. And food inflation actually drives all other forms of inflation. So the question is, what exactly can we do? And I think the first thing to do is to maybe copy the model of China, because when China was going through its own industrialization, they went through agriculture from the beginning. We should be able to feed our people. We should be able to provide for our people, in the sense that if we are able to feed our people, then you are having less stress on inflation. Now, when I mean feeding our people, I'm also looking at the manufacturing aspect of food. We have numerous arable lands. We have able bodies that should be put to work or that can be put to work. Now, when we look at our agriculture, for example, there are vast opportunities. Now, what are the problems that we have in agriculture, for example? There is a key problem, and that is the storage. Okay. I'm not even talking of the manufacturing aspect yet. Let's talk about the storage. And I'm going to say something here, and I hope that they hear. Now, Nigeria has train stations. We have trains in Nigeria going from maybe Lagos to Ibadan. Now, I'm not talking of the fast rail. I'm talking of the ones that are under the National Railway Corporation, for example. Okay. Why don't we go to China and say, you know what? Why don't you guys build coaches for us that can actually store materials? Now, transportation through those rail stations. Get like solar energy type of refrigeration in these coaches. And you can use that to transport. Now, you're going to store those materials in there You are going to put less stress on our road infrastructure and also eliminate some forms of middlemen here and there. Because if you're transporting goods and materials from, say, Borno to Lagos, you know how many checkpoints, you know how bad the roads are. But when we have that kind of storage and transportation facility, we are going in the right direction. Now, there was another opportunity that I actually saw the other day. The federal government, that is the CBN, sold some treasury bills. It was 1 trillion naira, and I think it got
subscribed.
What's the word?
Subscribed.
Oversubscribed to the tune of maybe, I think it was 1.3 trillion naira. Companies are leaving Nigeria, fortunately and unfortunately. This is an opportunity for us to prove that we want to go into production and manufacturing. Why don't people begin to invest in these assets? Because these companies are not going to leave this assets, they're not going to carry these assets along with them. Why don't we invest and people advertise that and make it more interesting for people? Put your money into these assets, let us upgrade and update them and redesign them and look at how we can use raw materials in Nigeria today and use that for finished products. And now we can actually cut down that industrialization and manufacturing that we're talking about, cut that down from about 30, 40 years. We're looking at maybe between 10 to 20 years.
Ayodeji, I know this. Ayodeji, I'll come. Ahead, I know this sounds good, but let us put it in practical terms. So, for example, GlaxoSmithKline left. You're saying that in Nigeria, maybe a private person, maybe someone like Obiajilu, who has money now, wants to buy GlaxoSmithKline. Now, the reason why they left is probably because some of their raw materials are being imported and they're having issues bringing it in the country in the first place. So Nigerians will also have that same problem, some challenge in producing or replicating the drugs they were producing here in Nigeria. Don't you think so? It sounds nice on paper, but practically, is it possible?
And what's the incentive? In addition to that, the incentive for the Nigerian who now wants to, a business person who now wants to get into that space, what's the incentive that you think can keep them? Because every businessman wants to make profit. And if the conditions are not favorable to them, they rather put their money somewhere else.
Okay, now let me paint a picture here. We are talking about the faltering Naira, for example. There is no magic that can be done to save the Naira except to become more productive, right? Nigeria already ranks as in, I think it's the 4th lowest globally when we look at our tax to GDP. Nigeria in itself needs to industrialize and need to manufacture more. And as such, we are waiting for foreign direct investment. Everybody has this idea of foreign direct investment. People are not looking at local direct investment per se. People think that as these companies are leaving, it is doom and gloom, but no, it is a blessing in disguise. Now, what I'm saying here is we have to think as regards what kind of raw materials can we use these assets for. So we don't even have to do all of the design work per se. Just redesign some particular aspects and look for what kind of raw materials we can bring in. Okay, we talked about pharmaceutical companies leaving. Okay, there is the bitter leaf, we have bitter leaf scattered everywhere. Okay, how can we get the bitter leaf in and how can we turn it into capsules, for example? And we already have some certain assets lying fallow. This is where also, when we talk about our education, this is where the education comes into play, where we can have university students and coming in to assist. This is where we would have all of our engineers and co in Nigeria coming in to assist. I'm a chemical engineer by practice. Maybe that is why I'm thinking this way, because I see an opportunity here. And what is the incentive? You do not have to even, start looking at, I want to go and look for dollars somewhere. It is here in Nigeria. The assets are already here in Nigeria. So what we need to do is sit engineers down in the room, or sit chemists down in the room, sit all of these professors down in the room, and upgrade, update, and redesign. That is what I am saying here. I'm talking about cutting all of this, our industrialization, cutting it down by half. Now, I have another thing I'm going to say here, which
One second, Deji.
Controversial.
Deji, before you go into that controversial one, let me get a few questions in, then we'll come to that controversial matter.
So, Deji, I agree with you. Everything that you said here, what needs to be done, industrialization, how when companies are leaving Nigeria, it does not spell doom. I agree completely, and I think many times we discuss it here. But right now, but everything you've talked about, like that is a solution. The way Nigeria is right now is a long-term solution. Industrialization will not take 4 years. You know, there's so many things we need to do, but there's a long time before we can get there. Now, the problems Nigeria are having is the right now. While we're making all these moves for industrialization, for, you know, building our own capacity in pharmaceuticals and things like that, Nigerians are saying we are hungry right now. And I think government is scrambling around to find what are the short-term measures right now that is best for Nigeria, that also does not sabotage the long-term goals that we're heading for. Do you understand? Because I personally, I'm worried for some of the palliatives that we're giving out. And I'm saying, I hope tomorrow they will not say, it's the money we're supposed to build school, that we use it to give you people rice. You know, what do you think is the best thing, short-term right now, to allay these issues?
Well, are we trying to build, let me ask this question to the crew. Are we trying to build strong people or strong institutions? Are we trying to build strong people or strong institutions? We have to take the, what's it called? The tough, the bitter way. In this particular case, there are no ifs, ands, or buts. There is nothing we can do like that per se. Because when you talk about palliative and with subsidy and all of these things, they have to be targeted. There are a lot of people that don't need those subsidies and those palliative that are requesting for them. In the Western world that we are trying to copy or model, it is people that are working minimum wage don't go for subsidy and palliative and all of that. They have a system that can actually capture the people that are truly in need. But Nigeria of today doesn't have that. So, okay, let's give them cash. Okay, look at it for example. You have the state's register for the registry for the vulnerable and poor. You have that for the federal government. How many people are in that registry? Maybe we need to improve our data gathering so that when they roll out and dole out this palliative, it goes along with. The only short term is palliative per se. And also what the CBN is doing, because a lot of people are saying, saving the Naira, you are not doing the things you're supposed to do, why is the CBN doing this and that? The CBN doesn't produce or provide dollars. They do not manufacture dollars. They are only cleaning shop or cleaning house. They are in charge of the monetary policies, that is interest rates, and the currency and forex and all of that. How you inject forex into the country and currency and all of that. That is all they are doing. Now you have the Ministry of Trade and Investment. Because like I always say, there is nothing we can do without going through the manufacturing route. Let me throw this question. How many people want to go to the farm in Nigeria today? Now, I know there is insecurity. The government is working towards tackling insecurity, but let us sit down and ask ourselves, what is the incentive to push people to the farm? And even people that are in the farm today, farming and all of that, are they patriotic enough? We've seen in the news where a lot of people are carrying these our foods and trying to smuggle it out of the country.
Yeah.
You only move food out of the country when you have satisfied the needs of the people in your country. So at the end of the day, we can sit here and talk about what are the different, short term that we can do, but there are no short term around this, and that has been the problem of our country, because we are always looking for a messiah, we are always looking for short term solutions.
Exactly.
What we need today is to take the hard road, the hard way, and it's not going to come easy. Like I said, do we need strong people to say, oh, this president was the best president at his time, or worst president at his time? Or do we want strong institutions where we don't need to have that president or that minister or that senator, but just have that institution that is working?
Yeah.
That is what
let me go on a very short break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guest, Deji Bakare, with us. Amaka had a question for him. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Mr. Adeji. So in response to the short-term remedies and then the long-term remedies, being proposed by you, I think we're also focusing on the wrong things. I think we should focus on power. Because without power, you can't drive industrialization. You can't produce, you can't manufacture. And I think, my co-host said something about, we can't do certain things within 4 years, but we can get power, we can sort out power within 4 years. And if we can sort out power within 4 years, then we can produce, we can manufacture, then we can start taking care of the immediate hardship happening in Nigeria. So we need to, I know there's this cabal about the generator cabal and all that, but we need to focus on power.
Ayodeji, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me say this here. Fortunately and unfortunately, I'm going to tell Nigerians this. I don't think we can fix our power problem in 10 to 20 years.
What? Why?
Why?
Please.
Let us be very realistic here.
Please explain.
Let us be very realistic. Now, power has been divided into generation, transmission, and distribution.
Yeah.
When the when the privatization happened in 2006 and 2013, they didn't manage it very well, and as such, the power companies are not even breaking even. The federal government is paying is going to pay 1.7 trillion naira as subsidy for power today. I'm telling everyone that wishes to listen to me today that if we are to pay the true cost of power in Nigeria, we are going to be paying triple what we are paying today. Now, the people that are in the business are not breaking even. So how are they going to invest in the infrastructure? Nigerians, unfortunately, we have a very low purchasing power.
Very low.
We have one of the lowest purchasing power around this West Africa and all of that. Ghana has a higher purchasing power. So the question is, will you carry your money and invest? So now that's why I'm saying that we know that we have the power issues. That's why I don't want to dwell on it. Now, what can we do around it? Why the federal government is trying to fix transmission and why the GenCos, generation companies, are trying to do their thing at this coast? Do you know that it's only 60% of Nigerians that pay their electricity bills?
Including parastatals.
Yeah.
The other day we heard that the Villa and so many other places were owing to the tune of 47 billion naira.
Yeah.
So what kind of business model is that? Exactly. So what I'm saying here is that if I'm like Thanos, for example, and I snap my fingers this way and we have electricity, yes. But let us not be caught in that mirage of the power pumps, everything is going to be fixed. No, we have infrastructure. Power is under that infrastructure. We have the multiple taxation issues. We have policies. We have regulation. We have security. Everything all works hand in hand. Now, if I sit people down and say, okay, we have the electricity, what can you do with electricity?
Plenty things.
A friend of mine that I know. That's what I'm saying. What can we do with electricity? Where is the ingenuity? Yeah, okay, this is what we're going to do differently. So that's why I'm saying that because of all of the issues, and listen to what the Minister for Power has been saying. He's been saying we cannot pay subsidy. So if you remove the subsidy, what happens to the common man? And now, how much returns? Because people definitely not pay their bills for the most part. And if they cannot pay their bills, how are you going to thrive in that business? Let me tell you the truth, the privatization in 2006 and 2013 was bad business. That's the point blank period, because electricity is a business-making venture. We all think many a times we try to push Nigeria into running a welfare society. Nigeria is not a welfare society per se.
It's a business.
You can only be a welfare society where you are making so much revenue. How much revenue are we making? We are one of the lowest when it comes to our tax to GDP ratio. We are like the fourth lowest.
Okay, so if we remove power for a second, based on what you're saying, we should focus on industrialization, manufacturing. Hopefully that will put more money into people's pockets and then hopefully they will also pay for whatever power is available.
No, we still need power for that. We can't take out
so that
to him, he's saying 20 years, so that's still long.
No, that's for everybody. There's a special power for special manufacturing.
Let me add something, because we're talking about power, and power is like one of the major issues that we need to fix if we need to go forward in this country. They've been talking about removing subsidy, right? And some people have been saying Nigerians will not be able to pay when they finally remove subsidy. And I beg to differ, because I know that depending on the level that you are, your bills are different. In developed economies, the rich or the middle class basically pays more for services than the poor. So everything is done in bandwidth level. Now, if we get our parastatals, government parastatals that are owing billions to these generation and the discos and all of that to pay their basic. So no government parastatal should owe. As they are using power, they are paying their basic. That's enough money for them to be able to turn over their business. You take out that subsidy, and then the middle class and the rich pay more in terms of tariff than the poor. You will be able to still find a way to level it. Because if we keep pushing this down the road, at what point do we now say we're taking out subsidy for people to be able to have enough electricity to do their business?
Okay, we're having real talk here, and I like your energy, BC. Let's have this real talk here. Averagely, we are paying about 53 naira per kilowatt hour. For these schools to even break even, they need to be charging about 150 naira per kilowatt hour. I made electricity when I worked as a utilities engineer for about 3 years. So I know over 3 years, I know what it entails. So can we pay 150 naira per kilowatt hour? I would say the calculation should be how much does the middle class pay for like diesel or petrol? How much do they pay for diesel and petrol? And factor that into how much energy is being generated, and say, you see, I'm spending almost 80,000 naira per month, and I use that to power my generator, and then we can have a good case. We can have a good case and put all the numbers on the table. Don't get me wrong, though. I am a proponent and I am optimistic that our power situation will be solved. I am optimistic. I agree with you, BC. I am a Nigerian. I am a patriotic Nigerian. But we need to face the harsh reality. Now, we are not even talking about vandalism that we are doing ourselves. When the government and the companies actually set up all of this infrastructure, and then we ourselves go there to go and vandalize it. I watched a video the other day in Ikorodu. They moved a full, that was over the weekend, they moved a full transformer. That in itself deters people from wanting to invest, because that's part of the industrialization I'm talking about. I'll say something here again, and I hope the federal government, they're listening. Like I always say, there are no trade-offs. So there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. Sorry, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. Now let's move a little bit. Our money maker is what's it called? Crude oil. Crude oil. Our money maker in Nigeria is crude oil. Even though this government has tried actually from 1.2, 1.1 that the former administration left it at, now it's at 1.5, 1.6. So they are doing something right. However, former President Olusegun Obasanjo said about 80% of our crude oil is being stolen on a daily basis. So imagine 80% plus 1.5. So we should be doing between 3.5 to 4 million barrels per day. Why don't you call all of these bad guys in quotes to the table and tell them, guys, rather than doing this bunkering or this vandalism or this theft, bring all that money, come and invest it in our refineries and clean yourself up. We are going to forgive you. Take all of those your monies and put it in that refinery, because Nigeria is trying to look for who's going to buy the refinery. And there you go. You've solved another industrialization problem there. And like I'm saying, we need to be thinking local, not Western. Our education, the education we have is a conformist type of education. We should be critical thinking. Our education is such that it is tailored towards solving Western problems, but not our own core problems.
True. True.
Not all corporate, and that is why I'm saying there is liquidity in Nigeria right now as we are speaking. Because the inflation we are seeing today is when too much money is chasing less goods. There's evidence that there is money. Call these guys to the table. It's just like when I gave an idea the other day on your program, and I said for insecurity, for example, in the north, all this mining and all of these things going on, call all of them to the table. Tell them to set up a business, set up a company, and be the middleman. That ends insecurity. We forgive you. All of you. Oh yeah, set up your company. You guys will be in charge of the transportation. You have the people that are mining, yes, and you guys will be in charge of transportation. You've cleaned them up. You've solved that. Because like I said, follow the money. It's all about money. You make more money actually by doing things the right way. You are clean. That is how we should be thinking. Now, I even talked about education, for example, and it's good that I even talked about that education, for example. Now, see, in Nigeria today, if I were the president, for example, I know there is a section in our constitution, section 18, that says that we should provide free education, up to tertiary education. I will not even fund tertiary education. I will not fund tertiary education. I will carry all of that money and focus on vocational and technical colleges.
Yeah.
I will focus on colleges of education that will teach people.
Skill.
I will focus on that because
do we need power?
because we are saying that we want to sell IT and all of that. We want Nigeria to compete. The Indians are already there, saturated. If we are talking about industrialization, we are going to tell the investors coming that hey, Nigeria is known to have the best operators. Nigeria is known to have the best technicians. We can even sell those services out there. We have trained people here. So that is what part of the things we should be focusing on. Because people come out of school and say no job. Just because you went to a 4-year university or a polytechnic, that doesn't guarantee you a job. It doesn't guarantee people jobs anywhere. Like I said, local solutions, not your typical orthodox, like your typical plug-and-play solutions. Nigeria is in a complex situation, so it requires complex answers.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So this morning I saw in the papers where the Atiku Abubakar, the opposition leader, was saying to our president that he should adopt the Argentine way, their own way of, in the way that they handle their own economic issues. And he says that he explained it as cutting government expenditure by cutting the size of government and wastage, block the stealing of government funds, attract foreign direct investment through concessions, tax holidays, and improve ease of doing business. You know, you said there are no solutions, only trade-offs. So I'm looking at this. Are we looking at tax holidays? You know, I hear Nigerians saying some people have been given too much leeway. Big companies, they don't pay tax. And now, one person's opinion is saying give tax holidays, give tax concessions. What do you think? What is the trade-off here? What should be the trade-off here?
Well, respectfully to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, I think he was maybe misinformed as regards President Milei of Argentina. I'm not trying to badmouth President Milei here, but he's a radical. I don't know if people watched his, his campaign and all of that. Argentina is in a different situation than Nigeria. Argentina's inflation is off the roof. Argentina is actually a dollarized economy as we are speaking today. And Milei is actually even saying that he wants to dollarize the economy more, like using the Argentina peso. So when former Vice President was talking about Argentina and what they are doing, I'm like, is it the same Milei that I've been following? Because I do some little talks on geopolitics and all of that. Now, I'm not going to discard everything that the former Vice President said in his report as regards cutting wastage. Cutting wastage is a vague statement. It's an ambiguous statement. What is defined as cutting wastage or cutting government spending? Okay, the highest employer of labor, for example, is the government in Nigeria. If you cut wastage like you are saying, who is going to employ these people? Are there jobs for them? Who can absorb them? Can the private sector absorb them? So I'm thinking that this president's approach is similar to what he did in Lagos. Because if you look at Lagos, they actually created more jobs, but then created more revenue. The key there is either you are austerity measures, like you are cutting everything possible, you are cutting everything, or you are like, you know what, this is where we are. Now, let us improve the revenue. Let us increase revenue, and we can pay for all of these certain things. So I'm thinking that that is the trade-off here. But to just call President Milei of Argentina, and not really understanding the policy, and also the World Bank giving these guys tens of billions of dollars as loan. In Nigeria, they cannot even give us up to $2 billion as loan because our maybe because of some things I may not want to say on TV, you know, race and all of that. But then also we need to understand that Nigeria already, our credit card, for example, has been maximized already.
Yeah.
We have used all our
goodwill
to borrow money. We've used it to borrow money, and maybe the only way that we're getting some cash into the country through the sale of crude oil is maybe the 200,000 barrels additional.
Okay, Ayodeji.
And that's why this government is really big on, we need to increase production.
Okay, Ayodeji, I have a caller.
Yeah, sorry.
I have a caller, Peter from Agodo. Has been holding for a minute. Good morning, Peter. You're live. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, Maria, thank you so much. My name is Peter. I don't know. We've been talking so much on this issue every year. 10 years ago, we'll talk about this thing. 15 years ago, we'll talk about this thing. Why is it that we'll continue to talk and nobody's taking correction? We'll continue to have leaders over time. They cannot sit down and have a proper planning. If we talk about electricity, where I live, people steal electricity every day. I fight them as if I'm the owner of a power holding company. I don't know where we'll get this thing right, because the Nigeria that we have today, if we don't properly come down and think of way out, I don't think we'll get out of this problem. People are stealing billions. People are stealing billions just to make sure their family, when their children cough, they will go to London for hospital. And there's a lot of things we need to do. Please, let our leaders calm down and remove the ego. The wastage is too much. The beginnerism is too much. Everybody's trying to just get it now so that it's my turn. Let me get it now so that my own children will be secured. The day we remove selfishness and calm down and look at what is happening now, we'll get out of this thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
These are the issues.
You know, there was something that I would like you to address that BC said earlier, because a lot of people might have that thinking. I'd like you to just clarify it a bit more. BC has suggested that maybe if government pays their debt to these electricity companies, that will give them enough money to actually pay their infrastructural deficits and have the issues, solve the issues they're having, and then we have more power, and then also build the middle class. Is that really because many people might hold on to that statement and say, yes, let them go and pay it so that we can have more money. But do you think that's really going to help to resolve the power issue we have, especially after now all the states have been allowed to independently generate their own power? How else can that support power? Because at the end of the day, after all this English we are speaking, we cannot industrialize without power. We cannot create jobs without power. We still need
where
power.
do we end? Where will we
even the vocational schools, right?
How will they implement those skills they have learned without power?
The foundation is still power. So, Ayodeji, help us. How do we? I really need you to clarify that part for Nigerians so that they can have a better understanding.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we need to understand that we have limitations in our power sector. Even if we pay all of our bills, for example, which I think is just a drop in the ocean. On record, I think our highest was 5,002 or 5,003 megawatts. I think that was under President Buhari.
Yeah.
That is not enough. What we need today is to the tune of between 20,000 megawatts to 30,000 megawatts. That involves a lot of capital spending. Now I'm talking of power that is delivered to the people, not power being generated or transmitted. Now transmission on the other hand can only do 8,000 megawatts. Our distribution can only do 5,000 megawatts, and we need 20,000 megawatts. So even if you pay the parastatals pay their bills, how much is it? How much are our people owing the Gencos? The Gencos cannot even pay discos. They cannot even pay. So the thing is about how do we increase our purchasing power? at the end of the day so that we can afford. Yes, it is a very good idea. However, are Nigerians ready for that shock? Because when that happens, there's going to be more inflation.
Yeah.
There's going to be more inflation. Things are going to bite much. It's just like for the fuel that we are buying today, for example, fuel gasoline. It's sold at 700 or 670 or 700 or something like that today in Nigeria. The true cost for that fuel today is 1,200 naira.
Yeah.
So for the Nigerians out there, 1,200 naira per liter. So for Nigerians out there that are sad that the dollar is coming down and Naira is going up, remember, as that dollar is coming down, that is how the subsidy that the government is paying on electricity is on fuel. It's coming down too.
It's coming down, sorry.
So as dollar is going up, how much you are paying for, the government is paying for subsidy is going high. Because I told people that wish to hear that we're still paying subsidy for fuel. For example, we're still paying it. So if dollar goes back to where it was, 750, that was when the federal government saw those true savings. You remember, immediately they removed subsidy and they got like maybe 1.9 trillion to share. And they said, you know what, let's hold on. Let us just share 900 billion or 1.7 trillion and save the rest.
Yeah.
So that is where we are. That is where we are as a nation. It is just a drop. We need serious capital investment. But if you want to invest, you want to recoup. I know, BC, I know you are a businesswoman. If I put in, as a businesswoman, if you put in 100,000 naira, BC, you want to get 500,000 naira out of that business. Let us call it speed is speed. It's a capitalist society.
Yeah.
It's a business-making venture. So the question is, if I put that amount of money, what am I getting in returns when the people themselves cannot afford to pay? So that's why very
bad business. Let me take this call.
Solar. A lot of Nigerians are now doing solar now. A lot of Nigerians are now using inverters now. So that's what I'm saying. That's where the ingenuity comes in. We have to start thinking through all of these different things. That's all I'm saying.
Let me take a call.
I want power to be solved. Yes.
Let me take a call. Oluwaseun, thanks for calling. You're live.
Okay, good morning, Morayo, DC, Miriam, and the other lady. Good morning.
Good morning, Sheung.
Good morning.
And it's nice meeting Mr. Commodification of the Naira through Cassava. Yeah, you know, I've been longing to meet so that I can give us an expose on that. Yes, I want to ask a question. I want to ask this question. Do you know, are you aware that the federal government has removed the power from the exclusive list? So now, state, anyone can generate light. So now, what can you talk to that? I want you to give us because when you spend 20 years, that it take us like 20 years, even more, to begin to get power, right? That's very scary. So what solution? What can we do, even with this law? With this new law, that anyone can generate, states can generate light. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning again. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Deji.
Yes, I didn't hear what you were saying.
No, you were just saying that
clearly. It was a little bit.
Okay, so what he was saying was that, what do you say to the fact that the law has been adjusted to ensure that the states are able to generate their own power? What do you say? What can the states do individually? What opportunities are there for the states to adopt this and begin to generate power?
Well, I think a lot of Nigerians, a lot of us think that these things are plug and play. I am in the manufacturing industry. At least, if you want to build a power plant, like you have the full funding, you want to build a power plant, you want to build a chemical plant or refinery, it's going to take you nothing less than 3 to 5 years. You need to get all of the permits, you need to do all of your safety, process hazard analysis. In Nigeria, we do what's called EIA, environmental impact assessment. You need to do all of these things. Now, also, what kind of the infrastructure also? So we're talking of billions and billions of dollars or trillions and trillions of naira in investment. So the question is, how do we make it lucrative for the investors to come in and invest? You do not expect the government. Now, the government can go into public-private partnership like what Lagos State is known to do. However, funding from government and funding from the investors, maybe local investors or foreign investors. I think that is where the part of the problem is. And also, we the people assuring that we are going to pay our bill. I mean the right bill now, not the bill that the federal government is paying 70 or 80% for us in subsidy. These are the major loopholes. It's so beautiful and so interesting on paper. However, it takes a whole lot for that to come into fruition. Nigerians, are you ready to pay your NEPA bill?
Okay, so I think that sounds good a bit, in the sense that, so governors, for example, if you have like a GRA, you have somewhere like a middle class where some people live, you can decide to get a private investor or an international investor to partner with you to generate power for that area. At least you know they will pay.
Yes.
Hopefully, you can now subsidize for the other areas that are not able to pay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think we're already doing that in Lagos.
In Lagos, yes, certainly.
We have IPPs, independent power plants already.
Yes.
There are some parts of Lagos that have electricity. So the thing is, I don't want to sound too technical. You're talking about the breakdown of how electricity is generated and all of that, like the turbines and the transformers and the feeders and all of that. So they are going to do all of these things themselves. That's billions of dollars.
Okay.
In quotes.
Let me get one question in for you. Sorry, we're running out of time.
Okay, so Mr. Ayodeji, we are here to profess solutions, but then I think for every solution we tend to bring up, you tend to make us feel like, oh, it's so difficult, it's this, it's that, we can't do it, it's impossible. Excuse me. So that's not encouraging. Like I know, and we all know, that Rome was not built in a day. So if you're saying that we can have private investors come in that can now decide, that cannot map out an area and make sure that there's light, and then whoever wants to key into that, in terms of those that are into production, manufacturing, can do that, and then they have to pay to do that. Then that's a step forward. So if we start doing that in batches and in different locations and states and everything, then we now know that, okay, we have a 3-year plan, we have a 5-year plan, we have a 10-year plan to achieve what we want to achieve. And believe you me, when people start saying that, people are able to do their businesses, manufacture, produce, because there's light, and the people actually pay for it, then more people want to key into it. So don't make us feel like that, oh, everything is money, million. Yeah, you can't do anything without money anyway. So if we are determined as a country to, and we agree as a country that want to move forward, that we are all suffering here. There's so much hardship, and that this is one of the solutions, immediate solutions on the table. I believe that people will bring in the money and rally around to make this happen. Really? Yeah, nothing is that difficult. It's not rocket science.
I know we are running out of time, but let me explain something here. Like I said, I am very optimistic. I want it to work. We already have a similar model in place. At least we have band A, band B, band C, and all of that. Today, there are some people that are paying much more than what the lower kids are paying. So the question is, how has that been working? How has that model been? So that is a test run for whatever is going to come into that business. And that's why I said in Lagos we already have IPPs. It's a step in the right direction, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying if we want that grand investment coming in, like I said, for us to run a country today, we need ×5 or ×6 of the megawatts that we are producing today. And we need funding for that. And we need to improve the purchasing power of the people so they can afford it. And that will bring me to my most controversial statement here, time permitting. Okay. Now, let me be very careful what I'm about to say, but I will say it anyway.
Be careful.
I want to talk about churches.
Okay.
Now, the churches in Nigeria. Some churches in Nigeria are already in a capitalist business, right? They already run schools, right? A school is capitalist, right? Private schools.
True.
Why don't they go into industrialization too?
The schools?
Okay. Churches.
Yes, the churches.
Churches, okay.
Yes.
Since we're running schools, which is good to start running manufacturing companies.
For power generators.
They have the liquidity. Now we're talking about cutting our industrialization journey into half. They have the liquidity. They will employ their own church members.
So what
now we are going to create opportunities for these people. Remember, they've already been running private schools already. So it is not like, oh, we are a church, we cannot do this or we cannot do that.
I agree.
Bring out this money and open local industries. Create this job. You can open up the lands already. I don't want to call the names of these different schools here. But that's what I'm saying. There are no solutions but just trade-offs. That cuts it into half already. That's 10,000, like a certain church, 10,000 people, you employ 10, 15,000 people, that is going to increase and improve the purchasing power of Nigeria. Of the people. Now, because we all know there is no magic we can perform on the Naira except we manufacture locally here.
So, for example, we have RCCG, farming, something.
Peso, for example.
Bread making.
No, I was just saying that, for example, we have RCCG farms refineries, RCG
manufacturing,
textile industry,
exactly.
You know, and then we're producing
flour mills.
Yes, flour mills. Okay,
too small.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Deji.
And then also the labor might not be as when you are paying for the labor, you pay more than the minimum wage, obviously. But now there's
help your people.
There's that incentive, there's that church, there's that God Almighty, there's that okay, we are doing this for the people also. It is capitalists, don't get me wrong. They are already in the capitalist business. Now let us come and transcend what we have. The churches and the mosque, for example, they are one of the biggest, if not the biggest institutions in Nigeria.
Yes.
There was this that talked about what South Africa exports to Nigeria. They showed ShopRite, they showed DSTV, they showed MTN. When they showed Nigeria's own, they showed RCCG, they showed what's it called? What's the name of the other church?
Living Faith.
Winners
now.
They showed all of them. So why don't we transform? So the leaders of these churches are listening, because already they may be doing bread, like just in small scale. Guys, we can go big scale. We'll cut Nigeria's industrialization issue to have. And they can even have IPPs. They will even have IPPs. Look at Lagos State, for example, with the rail program.
Mr. Bakare, it's a church. No, please. Mr. Bakare, I have to wrap up the show. It's a church.
But they have a school.
Mr. Bakare, I have to wrap up the show. Please. We cannot mix church and state.
Yes.
I don't understand.
The money the church
parallel.
It's parallel, yes.
For propagating
yes.
the gospel.
The money we make in church is for propagating the gospel. Just like marriage, yes. The schools that used to educate, it's also part of used to propagate
the gospel.
We are propagating the gospel with our money, please.
Educate the disciples. Hold on, man, respectfully. But the church came out of the state now.
Exactly.
You should have said it on in the beginning. The show has already ended, Bakare.
Because this is like the solution.
The church came out of the state.
Okay, we have to wrap up. Unfortunately, I wish you had said this earlier. I know I stopped you.
Dealt with it.
We have really, maybe we'll do a part 2 of this. So how will the church help industrialization
in the state?
Get going. That'll be our question. That'll be our next topic with you. Yeah. Anyway, we'll bring you back so we can break this thing, church and industrialization. You know, we'll see how that works. But thank you so much, Mr. Ayo Bakare, for joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure having you.
Very much. Thank you.
All right. So it's something worthy to go back to think about.
Yeah.
And dwell on it a bit and see how that works. Hopefully, if people have watched the show today and take it with this, we'll discuss it further another day and see if it's possible. Although some of us believe that.
And see what
you cannot believe anything.
Yeah, it's a poll. I just believe that
you
church money is church money.
Running a business.
Yes.
They're not running a business.
Even the church.
Have a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Bye.
Monday morning.